Hi guys, I'm super excited about sharing this with you today. Today we're going to look for dinosaur bones. A few years ago, I was lucky enough to get chosen to go along with some paleontologists out into the field in a place called Hell Creek, Montana. And this is a place where lots and lots of dinosaur bones are found. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I did with them, what I learned. And then because I was part of that program, they will send teachers a bag of sediment with what's called microfossils in it. So we're going to look through the microfossils together and see if we can find any dinosaur bones. So let's get started. Here's a picture of Slow-Mo on his way to Montana to get to meet the paleontologists. Here is the team of paleontologists that I got to work with. Some of them are already, scientists, they're already doctors. Some of them are working on their PhDs or their masters. But they're all really nice, super patient people. And they work out of a museum in Seattle, Washington called the Burke Museum. And they are amazing, amazing people. We hiked a lot because obviously dinosaur bones are not going to always be convenient to get to. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to get to them, so you have to hike a bit. But it was definitely a lot of fun and a really great adventure. Here we have a Triceratops skeleton that they had not had time to unearth yet. It's really important to remember that dinosaur fossils or all fossils are actually rock. What's happened is that the bone has been replaced by minerals and it gets turned into rock. But what you look for is kind of like a certain type of texture with pores or a darker color. And you can tell that those are the dinosaur bones. Over here, you can see one of the horns that Brandon is pointing at, and then there's a vertebrae down here at the bottom. Here is the head of the Triceratops or the skull, and you can see the horn right here. What you're actually looking at is the head upside down. So this is the horn, this is the eye socket, and then you can see kind of the back of the head or the fan that it has in the back. So I'm going to superimpose a picture of the Triceratops head. So you can kind of see a little bit there what it's supposed to look like or the position that it's in. Here they were actually unearthing a Tyrannosaur skeleton. We didn't get to see the actual bones because they had already all been packed up. But back here is actually where the skull was found. And it's called the Tufts Love T-Rex. And it's a really famous T-Rex. And you can actually go visit it in Seattle at the Burke Museum. So these are all bones and they wrap them up in plaster, which we actually learned how to do that so that the bones or really the fossils, right, are not harmed during travel. Here's one of the ribs of the T-Rex. It wasn't a complete T-Rex skeleton, but there were a lot of really cool parts that were there. Here's Thomo and his rock hammer. They have to be really careful not to break any of the fossil because it is fragile, but they will use rock hammers. Today, you'll notice that I'm going to be looking through the fossils with a brush, and I'm going to be picking them up with my fingers. You're not supposed to use anything like tweezers or anything like that because that can hurt the fossils. Here is another dinosaur that we got to see, but here I put a picture of it on the left. You can only really see the vertebrae of the dinosaur, and it's this darker color that you see here. Somebody actually found a T-Rex tooth. So this is my hand holding the T-Rex tooth. It's from a very young T-Rex. And this is me learning how to uncover fossils. So we've got some sort of a rib bone here that we found, and we were digging it up. We had to be really, really careful, and then we learned how to plaster it. Here it is with one side of it already plastered. This is Henry. He was a student, really cool, awesome paleontology student. So he wants to be a paleontologist. This formation that we were visiting in Montana is called the Hell Creek Formation, and it used to be a swamp, which makes it the perfect environment for dinosaurs to be preserved, for the fossilization of these dinosaur bones. So I just wanted to tell you really quickly, so these dinosaurs lived about 68 to 66 million years ago. There's also small mammals and other, lizards and things like that, dinosaurs that lived during this time that some of the paleontologists unearthed. So let's talk a little bit about microfossils. Microfossils are very small fossils. Now we can also talk about microscopic microfossils, which are kind of a different thing, where you have like unicellular organisms that have a carbonate base. Basically, they're kind of, that's what their structure is made of, and those can also be called microfossils. But in this case, the paleontologists here call just very small fossils microfossils, but you can see them with the naked eye. So you don't need a microscope to see these microfossils. So why are microfossils important? You might think like, only the really big, T-Rex skulls and the ribs and the, vertebrae are important, but we can actually learn a lot more from microfossils. A lot of the time, sometimes stuff doesn't get preserved. It's very difficult for things to be preserved perfect. There have to be perfect conditions for a skeleton like the tough-loved T-Rex to be preserved. And so that doesn't happen a lot of the time. And that's why it's so rare and so exciting when things like that are found. But microfossils are a bunch of tiny fossils of scales, of teeth, of, lots of vertebrae, lots of different things. And they can tell us a lot of information about who lived there at that certain time. If we know who lives there and what years they lived, then we can figure out how old that rock layer is. And so we can learn a lot about the different species that were there, how they evolved, when they went extinct, because all of a sudden we don't find any more fossils of this certain species, right? Or they appear and now we thought that they didn't live during that time, but they actually did live during that time. So microfossils might seem like, man, they're just like really tiny fossils, but they can actually give us a lot of information. That's why it's really, really exciting. And when I became a part of this program, they allow us to borrow these bags of sediment to look for microfossils, and then we send them back. And it's really important that we send all of them back, because we don't know what kind of information they're going to get from these bags that were collected out in the field in those places that I took pictures in. And so it's a lot of information that could get lost if the fossils get lost, or if somebody doesn't look at them. So they always depend on students and teachers to actually help them look through these microfossils and help them learn more about the environment that they are finding these microfossils in. So once the microfossils are collected and they're bagged up out in the field, they get washed. And this is my friend Lana right here. And so there's sediment in these boxes, and they have a screen at the bottom. So they shake them out in this lake that was near our campsite to get them all cleaned out. And then they sit in there overnight so that all the dirt gets washed away, and just the rock and the fossil is left behind. So when I start looking through the microfossils, this is the stuff that you should pay attention to. This is how you know you're looking at a fossil and not just a rock. Okay, remember, fossils are rock, but they are going to look different. And it used to be bone or scales or teeth that turned into rock. So you're going to be looking for stuff that is porous. You're going to be looking for stuff that's darker than the dirt or the sediment that's around it. You're going to look for stuff that looks like teeth, that looks shiny, right? Rocks aren't typically shiny. And they're going to have like distinctive shapes that, are recognizable. Like it looks like a vertebrae, it looks like a tooth, that sort of thing. So they're going to be recognizable. They're not just going to be random shapes like rocks. Here are the things that we are going to take a look at, or what we might find. And so we might find even some small mammals, we'll find amphibians, we'll find reptiles. All of these are basically the possibilities of the different organisms that could be in the bag of sediment that we were sent. And this is what we're going to be looking for. We could find vertebrae, and this helps us match it to the animal that it came from. We could look at teeth. We can also find scales, which is going to be like their skin or their dermal bones. Those might be a possibility. And we could also find jaws, parts of jaws and teeth and things like that. So I'm really excited about what we might find. Let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at what's in this sediment. What I have here is a plate that I'm going to spread the sediment out on. Here is the sediment. You will see that there is actually a name right here of the site that it was taken from. I also have a little dish here that I'm going to be putting the fossils in. I have a shovel to take the sediment out and spread it out here. I got a brush to push it around, and then I also have an extra plate in case I need it. I was also sent this by the Dig Field School people, and it's a clear container that I'm going to be putting the fossils in, and then they even have some little capsules to help protect any fossils that need extra protection. So let's get started. Here is a look at what we found. This is just kind of an overview of a lot of what looks like scales or might be teeth. This was kind of like the mystery pile. I'm not entirely convinced that all of these are bones, but it's better safe than sorry. So I'm going to separate these out in the little dish and send these along to just in case they might be fossils as well. Here are some scales and some teeth. So you can actually see the texture here of what might even help us identify these as dermal bones or scales. So let's take a look at these that we found. This definitely looks like some skin or some dermal bones. I'm not having a really easy time totally identifying it, but this one might be, from this kind of a fish. And we can go back and we can check the name on it. This one might be from the turtle looking dinosaur. So I'm super excited about these. I'm probably going to put these in the special little capsules so that they stay extra safe. These are very tiny. Although they look really big right now on the screen, they're actually really tiny. This is definitely a tooth of some sort. It looks like any one of these that could be on these jaws. So I'm really excited about this one. This is a top view right here at the bottom, and then this is a side view that you have at the top. I think these are also teeth. These two at the top are the same tooth, just from a different angle. And then this one down here at the bottom was a lot smaller, but also I think that one is definitely a tooth as well, probably from one of these fish. These are definitely some sort of scale, I believe. So I was really excited to take pictures of these. I took a lot of these pictures with the macro attachment to my phone camera, and you could really see the texture of them, which was really exciting. And here are some that I'm not entirely sure of how to identify, but to me, they did have a sort of different texture than the other rocks in the bag, and then I could definitely see some pores in some of them. So that gives me a hint that they could be bone, but better safe than sorry. I'm going to put them in a separate bag to send back to them, and then they can check my work. Because remember, I'm not an expert, but I'm just trying to help out here, and they're the ones that will be able to for sure know if these are fossils or not. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I look forward to seeing you guys in our next meet. Okay, bye.